So, welcome to day 3 of the 21 days in releasing our limiting beliefs. Again, I believe that we're only limited by our own limiting beliefs and by the programming that we received when we were young, from our parents, our teachers, culture, our society. It all has influence on us, and we choose these because they create that environment for us to experience life. And a lot of the times we've come in to move through these so that we can expand the collective consciousness as well. Because when we do healing for ourselves, we not only heal us, we heal the 7 generations before. And I believe it's a lot more. And we change it for the generations to come. But as a collective, we heal for us, the collective as well. And it comes from that saying, if you want to change your external environment, you've got to first change it internally. And this is what we're doing. And this is also part of a discovery of who we are. And so the first day, just to recap, we did a identifying limiting beliefs. Which ones were they, and whether they stem from. The second day, we looked at the gratitude towards having them because they've created and they've shaped who we are. And a lot of the times, we looked at the benefits of having them and how our soul has worked, or to work around these limitations, because we're quite resourceful in many ways. And I think that's one of the things that came up for me yesterday, in the sense of how resourceful we are, how we that becomes almost kind of like a rock in the river, but we manage to move around it, and then we manage to smooth the rock. And what we're doing now is we're moving it so that the rock becomes a pebble or disappears, or we move it out into the embankment. So a big part of the process as well is, once we realize how it's helped us, there's a sense of forgiveness that sometimes comes around. I think we're very much taught to grow up in this very judgmental kind of environment. What is right, what is wrong, what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong? And a lot of the times we end up becoming very self-critical. And what I generally notice with a lot of my clients is that we are our biggest judges when it comes to a lot of things. We're sometimes a lot more forgiving of others than we are of ourselves. And today we start looking at the forgiveness aspect, because sometimes we will hold a grudge against ourselves. Oh my goodness, I don't believe I was like this. Or, how could, that person have put me in this position? And forgiveness is huge, because it's not about excusing the situation or making it be okay. Forgiveness helps us to untether ourselves from the people, the places, the circumstances that have occurred. And it's not about erasing that circumstance, or that what happened. It's about, and this is where the gratitude aspect came in yesterday, is having an understanding of how it's worked for us. And the forgiveness part is that letting it go, being unattached. If we can talk about a situation from the past, or something that has happened that has deeply hurt us, if we can talk about it without a pain, without a resistance, without any emotional attachment to it, then we know we've actually worked through its entirety. If there's still some sort of a trigger when we talk about it, or some sort of a feeling or a resistance once that comes in, then we know that there's still some work to do around that within us. There's still something that's sticking, that we haven't resolved within our being. And forgiveness is a huge part of letting that go. When there is no energetic or emotional charge, we know it's done. And if there is, then sometimes forgiveness is a great way to do this. There's many forgiveness practices that you can use. I like to give the practice of writing a letter to either oneself or to a person or a situation that has occurred, and expressing exactly and actually releasing the energetic emotions, the thoughts, the feeling, everything onto that piece of paper. And then reading it out and then ripping it up and burning it piece by piece with the sense of forgiving, and sometimes you can even say, I forgive and release X, Y, and Z for all that they did consciously or unconsciously, because a lot of the times it's unconsciously that people do this, because everybody's running a subconscious program that informs our actions. And so that's one forgiveness. And then forgiving yourselves. I forgive and release myself for all that I've done consciously or unconsciously, because a lot of the times it is unconscious. Yeah, we do the best with what we know is a lot of the time. And I truly believe that. In when we know better, we do better. And that becomes important. So there's so many mental health benefits to forgiveness in the sense of reducing stress levels. There have been studies about that, improved mental health and enhanced relationships, because a lot of the times when we haven't forgiven, a lot of the times we start living in the past, we're stuck there. And when we're stuck in the past and we're replaying the traumas, the situations, it doesn't allow, our body doesn't know whether it's then or whether it's now. And that's why I was saying earlier that if there's still an emotional attachment or trigger to it, it means that the body's still trying to deal with it in the now. Forgiveness also helps to enhance our relationships and repair and strengthen our relationships sometimes. And it's not to say that we need to be friends or be connected with those that have hurt us till, past that. We also need to honor ourselves. But the forgiveness aspect releases us from being attached to them and the situation. So it gives us freedom. They have their own karma as well. And that's important too. There have been linked to physical benefits to forgiveness as well. Studies have shown that it lowers our blood pressure, because forgiving others is connected to our blood pressure as well. It builds our immune system, because letting go of any grudges and practicing forgiveness tends to boost our immune system, which helps with our overall health. And a lot of the times, forgiveness helps to reduce pain, because we carry these traumas in our body as well. Once we release them, sometimes it releases that little energetic pebble that we have in our system, which is why you'll see a lot of practitioners and somatic work becomes very, very effective, because we start looking at where are you holding this trauma in your body, what needs to be released. And sometimes forgiveness helps to release that as well. It helps with our personal growth. It facilitates that emotional healing and allowing us to move forward, and really letting go from the past. And, it's when I say letting go of the past, it's taking that knowledge with us, right? And then using it and applying it in the future. Forgiveness also helps sometimes with heightened empathy in understanding others' experiences and their perspectives as well. A lot of the times when we're dealing with intergenerational traumas, we start to realize that the programs that, were installed in us were because they were the programs of the people around us. They were working on their own programming. So once we get to understand that, it allows for a little bit of empathy, which sometimes allows the forgiveness as well. It releases us from resentment, because a lot of the times when something happens, we carry anger with us. And if anger is not resolved, it turns to resentment. And a lot of the times we're told to suppress these strong emotions like anger, especially within the spiritual community, because sometimes I've seen that it's kind of like, oh, it's a low vibrational energy, we shouldn't be working with it. We should try and remain and keep our energetic frequency high. And the only way to have a high vibration or keep is to work through these little things that keep us going. And I'm a strong believer in feeling your feelings 100%, but then letting them go. Anger is a powerful, powerful emotion. And emotions are really energy in motion. So if we could take that anger and direct it in a way that is conducive to helping us and propelling us forward, that is the best use of that energy. And what I'm getting, it's almost kind of like, there's certain types of martial arts where you use the strength of the opponent against itself. So seeing, anger as, could it be an opponent? Let's work with it. How can I move it in a direction that is conducive to me? So sometimes forgiveness tends to help that, but it's hard to forgive if we haven't worked through that emotion and realized, where did it come from? What was the program, the story that triggered that? And how do I move through that, accept it, and then the forgiveness tends to be a little bit easier once we've done a little bit of that soul searching as such. Forgiveness can improve our self-esteem as well. So letting go of the grudges and, practicing forgiveness can contribute to greater self-esteem and self-worth. Enhanced mental clarity as well, because sometimes when we're angry or when we're stuck in these past programs, it's hard to move from that. And letting go tends to start to clear the mind again, because we're not replaying that in our mind. And I know I used to wake up a lot of the times in the middle of the night, especially when I was in corporate, replaying the day or replaying something, and then judging myself and then thinking, okay, no, I need to let go of this. So, and that was quite sticky for me in that sense, in that forgiveness. And it's kind of like, okay, this is what you've been doing. Let's draw a line. Let's change it tomorrow, because today, not so that we have a better tomorrow, because we can't change the past. We can, in a sense of releasing the attachment or the perspective of what we've experienced and moving through that. And that's part of this process, is changing our perspective, rewriting that story that we've been playing, or that narrative that we've been working through, and seeing the story from a different perspective. And forgiveness can reduce our overall stress as well. But it is a deep and personal process, and each of us will move through it in our own way as well. So let's jump into the exercise of forgiveness today. So within the last 2 days, there might have been some limitations that come up, whether it's a blanket forgiveness of self, of having been through, what we have, or it's a specific people. Let's bring in the energy of forgiveness from those limitations, whether that's part of the limiting beliefs that came up, or the patterns, or the stresses, or whatever it may be, or just a general forgiveness is great to work through. So let's close our eyes. Let's take a couple of deep breaths. Let's imagine that we're breathing in light. And when we exhale, we release and remove all that no longer serves. Breathing in light and expelling the tension, the stress of the day. Breathing in light into our organs, and into our systems. nervous system, cardiac system, respiratory systems. Breathing in light into our digestive system. We tend to hold a lot of emotion. We tend to hold on to things in our digestive systems. Breathing in light into our lymphatic systems. Lymphatics also allow us to expel toxins. And breathing in light into every single cell within our body. Activating our own light within. Expanding our own light within. Let's amplify this light, allowing it to clear our chakra systems, our meridians. As we expand our light out into our auric field, clearing any emotions that are not ours, clearing any thought forms that are not ours, clearing any programming that no longer serves us throughout all of our systems. Let's connect into the crystalline grid at the center of the earth, pulling forward this diamond white grid, allowing it to connect to the soles of our feet, opening up those chakras. Allowing the exchange of energy between us and Mother Earth. As it moves its way up and anchors into our heart. Completely grounding us. Allow the energy of this grid to move through all layers, all dimensions, nurturing our bodies, and from the central sun, we call forward the golden grid of Christ consciousness. This is the grid of unconditional love and compassion. The grid of ascension. It will help us with the forgiveness aspect today. Allow this grid to connect into your crown, opening up your crown, clearing your connection to your guides, your higher self, your ancestors, and creator. Allow it to continue to move down, activating your third eye, your seat of intuition, allowing it to continue to move down, activating the way you express yourself, your avenues of self-expression. And bringing it down into the heart space, anchoring into the heart, allowing these energies to flow through all your systems, bringing in unconditional love, compassion, allowing this energy to flood through all aspects of you, absorbing the energy of love. And completely grounded, centered, and connected. Let's drop into our Akashic Records. Dropping into our heart space and from a place of non-judgment, place of love and compassion. We ask the keepers of the Akashic Records to open and allow us access into our own records. State your name. Please open the records for and create a safe and sacred space for our highest good and healing. The records are now open. The records are now open. The records are now open. Step over the threshold into your records. Let's ask the question. Is there a limiting belief or pattern, if not the ones from the previous 2 days, that we need to look at today? A pattern, a belief system that is ready to be released and forgiven. Who do we need to forgive in order to release this? Is there an aspect of ourselves that needs forgiveness for allowing this, perhaps? Call forward all versions of yourself that you've criticized, that you've judged, that you've hidden. From all aspects of your life, call forward the child, the teen, young adult, the adult. Those versions that we've criticized and judged. If you could say anything to them now, what would you say? One by one, bring in all those aspects of you. Give that inner child a hug. Give them the love that they need. And place them into your heart space. Embrace the versions of the teenage you that showed up today. Embrace them. Give them the love that they needed. And when you're ready, place them in your heart space. Go forward, that young adult or the next version of you. Embrace them. Give them the love that they needed at that time. And the forgiveness they needed at that time. And place them into your heart once that feels complete. calling forward all remaining versions of ourselves that need forgiveness and that need love. And place them all into your heart space. And let's ask that the violet flame of Saint Germain move through our records and our physical, etheric, mental, and emotional bodies, clearing the pain, the suffering, the judgment, the criticism that we carry that's from ourselves, whether it's conscious or unconscious, and clearing the critical words, the thoughts, the actions that we carry that have imprinted into our physical, our etheric, our mental, and emotional bodies, releasing, removing, dissolving, transmuting the limitations, the blocks that have been created that no longer serve us. And allowing the violet flame to remain in those areas until it is completely transformed, transmuted, or dissolved. And release the cords, the tethers, the attachments, the links, the ties to these people, these places, and these circumstances. Letting go, releasing, liberating ourselves. And we close the contracts, the deals, the agreements, the vows, the oaths, the pledges. With these people, these places, and these circumstances that no longer serve us. That limit us, that hold us back. Releasing all these anchors with love, with compassion, with acceptance. That we no longer need to carry. And as we release these, our systems need to readjust, allowing the replacement of those energetic energy cysts that we've carried for such a long time, the weight that we've carried, the judgment of others, the judgment of ourselves, the conformity. We release, we let go, we dissolve, we expand. Bringing in healing energy into our systems to allow to readjust, replacing the heaviness that we carried. With whatever you choose to replace it with. Whether it be love, health, whatever it may be. And as we release and let go, we start to notice that the light within us, not little, starts to expand and to shine even brighter. And as we start to expand, we start to notice that in our solar plexus, our power center, this light starts to expand and glow even brighter too, as by releasing these limitations, these anchors, these tethers, they no longer hold us back. No longer define us. And we start to shine our light brighter than we have before. Readjusting our physical, our etheric, our mental and emotional bodies. Aligning them with our higher self and our I am presence. We give thanks and gratitude to the keepers of the records and all those that showed up today, all versions of ourselves that showed up with this to support this. For the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding we have received today. The records are now closed. The records are now closed. The records are now closed. Take a deep breath and exhale. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. If you'd like to journal your experience, you're welcome to.